Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode in our WCW What If series in TEW 2020. We are in the second week of November 1996. We are on the road to World War III, and after the surprise of last week, where we have new WCW World Tag Team Champions in the New World Order, we've got to see what's going to happen this week in the continuous battle between the New World Order and WCW, as well as everything else that's going on. Tonight we're going to be finding out who's going to be answering, that is, the open challenge of Randy Savage for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship at World War III, that is. We may find out some more people who are in the World War III show. And of course, we also have a big match that was announced last week. It is the former United States champion Barry Windham taking on the Nature Boy himself, Ric Flair, among other matches here tonight. We'll have to see how that all plays out. But let's dive into the action in front of 13,648 people at the Breslin Center in East Lansing, Michigan. We start off Nitro with Lex Luger in the ring with Gene Okerlund. Okerlund asks Luger about the challenge made last week by Sting. Luger says that he is unable to compete anytime soon, thanks to the cowardly attacks of Sting, and that he can't believe he was ever friends with someone who would stoop so low, which, is just a riot, really. Before Luger can really say much else, though, this is when Roddy Piper comes out from the back, comes to the ring, and says, at first, he welcomes everyone to Nitro. Before he says that it's a good thing that Luger does not make the matches around here, that Piper makes the matches around here. Because he's had enough of Luger and Sting fighting with each other. It's only really been happening for a couple months now, but before that, they were having issues continuously. He's had enough of it. He's tired of seeing it. So next week on Nitro, it's going to be Lex Luger against Sting in an I Quit match. That crowd goes crazy as really this is probably, even like in this world, this is probably one of the first times that an I Quit match has been used. I don't really think that an I Quit match had been used too much before in real life at this time. So it's kind of a first. So we're gonna be using an I Quit. We're gonna be doing an I Quit match on Nitro next week. We'll have to see how that plays out. Luger, of course, freaking out because he's trying to claim that he is unable to compete, but Piper is not listening and just walks off. 85 rating for the segment. Very strong start to Nitro, as Luger actually did a good job improvising, which is very surprising because he's usually terrible. In fact, it's kind of why I put Roddy Piper in this segment, because Luger is not good at the talking. So, but there you go. Big matchup already for next week on Nitro. We move on from that, and we have essentially a quick squash match featuring the former World Heavyweight Champion Bam Bam Bigelow and his partner Vader, kind of squashing the Armstrongs in 6-11 when Bigelow pinned Scott Armstrong with a diving headbutt. 62 rating for the match. Honestly, this was just, it was a way to kind of build up the World War III bit by the commentary team, kind of talking about how with both of these men in the lottery for the World War III over, that if they happen to somehow get drawn together for the tag team qualifier portion, that it would be very, very hard for anybody to be able to beat them, because they would just, basically put the boots to two people who are brothers who have been teaming for a long time. So how is two people who have never teamed before going to be able to handle it? So just kind of putting over Vader and Bam Bam as legit threats for the World War III event. After that, Chris Jericho, we have a commercial break, obviously. Chris Jericho comes to the ring. He talks about being the WCW television champion once again. He stole the championship last week from Dean Malenko. Not officially. Dean Malenko is still officially the TV champion, but he actually legitimately stole the championship last week on Nitro. So now Jericho's acting as if he is the television champion once again, bragging about it, acting as if he is the television champion, the greatest television champion of all time once again. He says he's ready to take on any and all challengers, so he's calling out anyone from the back who thinks they can take on someone as great as Chris Jericho. Chris Benoit, member of the Horsemen, then comes out from the back as Jericho warms up. This gets a 94 rating for this segment. My freaking God, Chris Jericho is on fire right now when it comes to promos, which, is not surprising. But Chris Jericho getting ready to quote-unquote defend the television championship here against Chris Benoit. They get a 69, which is awkward. And on top of that, they don't seem to click, and it made for an awkward bout. I'm sorry. What? the great matches that they had in WCW and in WWF against each other, and they don't seem to click? Okay. Nevertheless, the bout had good wrestling, decent reaction from the crowd. Chris Jericho defeats Chris Benoit 11-5 by submission with a lion tamer. Good back and forth matchup between these two individuals, but Jericho is able to get the submission victory, which, obviously is pretty impressive to get a submission victory over somebody like Chris Benoit. 69 rating for the match. Kind of hoped for something better, but we'll take it. Benoit with the 78, Jericho with the 70. We'll go from there. After the match, Chris Jericho is celebrating the victory until the crowd goes crazy as Dean Malenko runs out of the ring. Jericho immediately bails through the crowd with the television championship as Dean Malenko doesn't even stop in the ring or anything like that. Like a lot of times you see, he just immediately jumps over the guardrail and chases after him through the crowd. So Dean Malenko on the hunt, trying to get his television championship back from Chris Jericho. 77 rating for the segment. Good stuff there. After that, we get a backstage promo from Johnny B. Bad, with the Bad Babe with him, where Bad talks about being in the World War III lottery and how it's going to be what he needs to get things back on track for the Bad Man. So, just a basic little promo, just kind of hyping up the fact, or just kind of revealing the fact that he's in the World War III lottery as well, and kind of, talking a little bit about trying to get things back on track. So, 75 rating. Not too bad. It's one of those things that I know he's lost some momentum with taking the losses in the battle against the New World Order, but I have some ideas for him, but it's just hard to pull the trigger on it with other things I have going on right now. So he's still floating around. I still am planning on him being kind of not an integral part of the future, but at least a part of WCW's future. I just need to get certain things going. After that, our presence has been graced by a member of the New World Order, as in a decent matchup, Bret Hart, member of the New World Order, defeats Rocky Maivia in 7-19 by pinfall with a victory roll. I don't know why he's doing a victory roll for a finisher. I know he did it in 93, when he was a face in WWF. So I don't know why he's doing the victory roll now. His only finisher should be the sharpshooter, really. But, so I'm going to have to change that. But nevertheless, Bret Hart with a victory, 82 rating, 96 in-ring performance from Bret Hart, 39 from Rocky Maivia. This was literally just a squash. The only reason I went 7 minutes is because Bret was trying to mess around with him a little bit. Rocky was able to get a little, a tiny hiccup of offense in at one point, but it was basically just Bret just toying with him the entire time. 282 rating. After the match, Bret Hart is celebrating the victory when the crowd starts cheering loudly. Hart looks around a bit confused until he turns around and is cracked in the head with a steel chair courtesy of Steve Austin. Austin starts punching away at Hart until the rest of the New World Order hit the ring and get to Austin before he can get away. Which, by the way, as you can see there, Paul Levesque making his return. Apparently, it was a 1-week hospital visit. He's returned. But anyway, Austin tries to fight off the group, but the odds get to him, and the chair that he used on Hart gets used on him by Sean Waltman. Austin gets laid out on the mat when Ted DiBiase rolls something into the ring that Paul Levesque picks up. Turns out to be a can of black spray paint. Wallman and Lynn roll Austin over, and Levesque spray paints NWO on Austin's back. Austin then gets put in the sharpshooter by Hart while the rest of the group stomps away at him until officials come out to break things up. So we have our first spray paint victim of the New World Order. I was debating on doing that here in my version of WCW's. Whenever I was debating whether I was gonna have the NWO do this or not, but then I kind of figured, it'll be good if I do it in moderation, not like they did it in real life where it was like every week they were spray painting something new on there. Like, I'm gonna do it in moderation kind of thing. But it also made sense in this one too, where it made sense that Steve Austin tried to fight off this group mentality, but the group mentality was still too strong for him at this point. And clearly showing that they're not done, that Steve Austin's not done with the NWO, and they're not done with him. So 89 rating for the segment, as Austin is left spray painted and in pain after being unable to fight off the unevening of the odds, I guess. I don't know exactly how to say it, but he's unable to fight off the numbers. After that, Dustin Rhodes is walking backstage as the commentators talk about how up next will be the matchup featuring Barry Windham versus Ric Flair. So Dustin Rhodes going to Barry Windham's locker room to, because he said he was going to accompany him to the ring, when all of a sudden he gets jumped by the Horsemen. Brian Pillman, Marcus Bagwell, and Chris Benoit put a beating on Dustin Rhodes. As commentators talk about how they must be doing this to keep Rhodes from being in Wyndham's corner tonight. Rhodes then gets laid out as the show goes back to ringside for said matchup. So Dustin Rhodes will not be in the corner of Barry Windham for this matchup. This gets a 78 rating. The match itself, my God, we have a new record. God damn it, Ric Flair. Why the hell am I not using you stronger right now? In About the Head Superb Wrestling in Great Heat, Ric Flair defeats Barry Windham in 12:59 by submission with a figure 4 leg lock to get a 95 rating for the match. Our best match we've ever had in this series, because I believe the previous one was Flair and Martel, which was a 94, I think. 95 rating for the match. 100 in-ring performance from Ric Flair. 82 for Barry Windham. What a great performance here. They had great chemistry and it showed in their performances, so that's good. But what a great performance here, as Ric Flair is able to get the victory. It wasn't put in the notes here, however, but the Horsemen did end up at ringside as a bit of a distraction. Diamond Dallas Page came out to join the commentary team during it, so Bagwell and Benoit were kind of near the bottom of the ramp area, kind of watching, making sure Page didn't come running down to try to stop anything, but Brian Pillman being at ringside was too much for Barry Windham to overcome, and Ric Flair was able to get the submission victory over the recently former United States champion. After the match, Page starts heading to the ring towards the ring as Ric Flair celebrates, but he gets jumped from behind by the rest of the Horsemen. The idea being that Benoit and Bagwell ended up kind of being chased off at this point. So not chased off, but they were off kind of checking on Flair a little bit or something. Somehow it ends up happening that way. I guess I did also forget to change that too, because originally this segment, the idea of the match was going to be that the Horsemen were going to be kicked out from ringside, but I kind of changed it last second here. Anyway, he gets jumped by the rest of the Horsemen. The Horsemen stomp away on Page, and as Barry Windham leaves the ring to try to help out Diamond Dallas Page, Ric Flair chop blocks him and stomps away on the leg before locking Barry Windham in the figure 4 once again. After a few moments, the Horsemen decide to leave on their own, leaving Page and Windham laid out and in pain as the Horsemen celebrate what they just did. So the Horsemen are just, it is just bad guy group mentality here tonight on Nitro. We've got the New World Order leaving Austin laid out. We've got the Horsemen leaving Dustin Rhodes and now Barry Windham and Diamond Dallas Page laid out. Like, it is just a group mentality here tonight, apparently, where the Horsemen and the New World Order are just running the show here tonight on Nitro, apparently. 87 rating for the segment. Lost heat for the storyline, but that's kind of a good thing because it was an 87, so that means our heat is insanely high for that storyline. That storyline, of course, leading is at some point in the near future, we're going to have that match between Ric Flair and Diamond Dallas Page. It just hasn't seemed to matriculated into anything specific yet. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But nevertheless, a great match between Windham and Flair. And then the post-match attack here. Afterwards, we get a pre-tape promo from Cactus Jack, where he talks about the battle he had with Paul Levesque at Halloween Havoc and how those two will cross paths again in the future. But for now, he turns his attention to healing up and getting ready for World War III. So he kind of reveals that he's in World War III as well. That's kind of the idea of the World War III pay-per-view. I should probably break that down a little bit here. So there's only going to be one non-World War III based match at the pay-per-view, and it'll be the World Heavyweight Championship matchup. All the other, like anything else, is going to be all, based around the World War III. So it's going to be a bunch of tag team qualifying matches and then the Battle Royal to determine who wins the World War III. So you're not going to see like a lot of like feuds happening, like you might, it's somehow Cactus and Paul Levesque might end up in a tag team qualifier against each other or might end up in the Battle Royal against each other, but you're not going to have like a singles match against each other, it's not going to be anything like that. Literally the only match on the World War III pay-per-view card is going to be the world title matchup featuring Randy Savage defending against whoever is answering the open challenge. Nevertheless, let's get to 99 rating. Great stuff there from Cactus Jack. Looking really strong in this promo. We then get a 100 rated segment where Randy Savage comes to the ring to issue his open challenge for World War III. After he kind of talks about the talent here in WCW, kind of putting over some people, he says that his only stipulation of this challenge is that he wants to face somebody who's never been a WCW World Heavyweight Champion before. Meaning that, kind of prevents Bam Bam Bigelow and Vader from answering because they've both been champions before. After a few moments, that's when Steven Regal comes out from the back and says that as someone who's all about fighting for the prize, Savage needs to look no further than Steven Regal. Before Savage can really respond to this, though, that's when Eddie Guerrero comes out and says that that Steven Regal may not be a former WCW World Heavyweight Champion, but he has fought for the championship. He just fought for the championship a few months ago. Eddie Guerrero has not had that opportunity. He hasn't had that chance, despite the fact that he was the United States Champion for many months. So after some back and forth between Regal and Guerrero, Randy Savage says, "You know what? Enough is enough, man. Enough is enough. I was told by Roddy Piper tonight that I got to come out here and decide who I was facing for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship at World War III. If both of you want it that badly, then you guys can compete for it right here, right now, in the main event of Nitro." So, main event of Nitro here tonight, Steven Regal, Eddie Guerrero, the winner faces Randy Savage for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship at World War III. And in an 86-rated matchup, despite the fact that they don't seem to click and it made for an awkward bout. Why do I keep having all these chemistry issues today? Despite that, in an 86-rated matchup, Eddie Guerrero defeats Steven Regal in 15:56 by pinfall with a frog splash. 83 from Regal, 84 from Guerrero. And just like that, Eddie Guerrero is the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. Great show, great match there as the main event of Nitro. Afterwards, Eddie Guerrero celebrates until Steven Regal confronts him. Regal slowly shows a little bit of respect to Guerrero, though, as Randy Savage, that is, enters the ring and shakes Regal's hand before turning to face Eddie Guerrero, and they have a little bit of a stare down with each other as the commentators talk about this being the world title matchup at World War III as Nitro fades to black. So, it is official at World War III. It will be Randy Savage defending the WCW World Heavyweight Championship against Eddie Guerrero, which should be a hell of a matchup for sure. Nitro this week gets a 93 rating, increase their popularity across the world. May have it might be our best Nitro as well. You would think I would remember this better, but clearly I don't. Clearly I do not. Well, okay. I kind of forgot about that. I would have to go look at my other computer for the actual specifics because it wouldn't have the looking at the top 100 here, it has only the ones I've done since I started the save, which has been 8 in-game days, so it wouldn't have that. But I'm 99% sure that that's our best match we've ever had, and I'm confident that this Nitro was at least in our top 5. I don't know for sure if it was our best one, but I know for sure it was in our top 5. The ratings for the week, as if it's any sort of a surprise at all. WCW absolutely killing it once again. 4.6 million viewers compared to the 1.8 million that Raw is getting. So they are dropping. They've dropped below 2 million viewers now, which is absolutely crazy. They had a 74. They had a main event of Shawn Michaels and Warrior defeating the Divinity, which is Jerry Lawler and Yokozuna. Okay. They also randomly ran a women's tag team ladder match on Raw for some reason, and it got a 62, which is better rating than what most of my females do in the ring, which is absolutely crazy. Nevertheless, another strong showing from WCW as we build our way towards World War III, and we'll have to see how all that plays out. Next week on Nitro, we are scheduled to have an I Quit matchup. Lex Luger going one-on-one with Sting. We'll also have to see what the consequences are of the attacks by the Horsemen and by the New World Order tonight. And we'll kind of have to see how everything else plays out. We'll have to see if what kind of momentum Eddie Guerrero, the new number 1 contender for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, can get, as well as everything else going on. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. But thank you for watching. Definitely appreciate it. Hopefully you guys are continuing to enjoy the series. Hopefully you guys are continuing to enjoy all the content I'm doing. If you missed it, I started started playing around with a new game. The video got put on the channel yesterday. Well, when this gets released, it'll be yesterday. So you might want to check that out. I have another game that I'm going to be doing posting a video for sometime this week. So you guys can check that out over. And, they're not wrestling things. And maybe that's not your thing. That's cool. It's cool if it's not. But for me, it's going to be something fun. It's going to be something enjoyable. It's going to be something different. So I'm going to keep doing it. And hopefully everyone out there enjoys whatever they want to enjoy. Because there's no rule that says you have to, enjoy this. You have to enjoy everything that a content creator does. You can pick and choose. And that's the cool thing about life. You can pick and choose what you want. Nevertheless, random rant aside, thank you for watching. We will catch all of you next week for another episode of Monday Nitro.